Welcome to NFL Daily, where we love a little Saturday football. I'm Gregg Rosenthal here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with my friends Patrick Claybon and Jourdan Rodrigue for the Week 16 preview. And yes, the first of 2 weeks where we got the Saturday games are back. That's how you know Christmas is close.
Yeah, it's that you're in the stretch. You're in the stretch run, Greg. And the Saturday games, big part.
It's like right when you don't have time necessarily on Saturdays, but it's nice. This first game that we'll talk about is actually opposite Tulane's first ever college football playoff game. So my attention will be divided, but we're not going to be recapping those till Sunday, so I'll have a lot of time to catch up.
Yeah.
This is a big Greg weekend.
This really is.
And it'll be perfectly fine, Greg, for you to not just second screen, but devote your full attention to the wave, roll wave, obviously, in the college football playoffs. But in the professional ranks, the Philadelphia Eagles are 6.5-point favorites at the Washington Commanders. The over-under is 44.5. It's Joe Davis and G-Reg on the call, where the Commanders have not seen things go great. The defense, Marcus and company got a win last week, and the Eagles bounced back. How big do they continue that bounce this week, Greg?
I think it continues to be significant. The Commanders are one of 13 teams eliminated. I meant to set that up at the top. Like, we're going into the last 3 weeks. There's only 19 teams that have a chance to still win the Super Bowl. And it will be down to 18 at the end of this game when the Eagles win, because that will eliminate the Dallas Cowboys. There's very few elimination scenarios I saw this week. In fact, I think that's the only one somehow, that the Cowboys are the only other team that's going to be eliminated. There's not a lot of reason to believe that the Commanders' defense can hold up. I guess the main one would be that what we saw last week out of Philadelphia, where it's a lot of under center for Jalen Hurts, doesn't carry over facing a non-Raiders competition.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to like what you saw against the Raiders at any point during this year for any team, but I liked what Philadelphia was doing. Like, we talked about more play action for Jalen Hurts. You saw this offense and Kevin Patullo and probably Nick Sirianni, who said a couple weeks ago he's got a little bit more involved in the offense as well. Trying stuff. That was a team to try stuff against. That was a game to try stuff that you need to install into your game plan ahead of the stretch run. And that was what we saw. And I expect to see that as well against the Commanders, who, you know, as well as I think Marcus Mariota has played in relief of Jaden Daniels, this defense just can't hold up, and there's no reason to expect it to.
I have a great stat from our friend Bo Wolf on the All PHLY podcast. The 3 games in which Jalen Hurts has been under center the most, and yes, that last week percentage-wise was the most all season, are their 3 highest EPA per play performances of the season. That feels like a correlation, and I think most of it is actually the passing game. It should open up a lot more diversity in terms of the running game. The running game last week still wasn't like amazing, and I think that's what's really keeping the ceiling lower. But anything that can help Jalen Hurts in the passing game out, where you have these great players, is a great thing. So I think this is an important step to like keep checking these boxes as they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a fall off for Saquon's big 28 rush yards over expected game against the Chargers. Went down to 5, but it was still in the positive.
Okay.
Where Saquon had spent a good portion of 2025 in the negative there. And I feel like a lot of that is similar because there were only 2 targets for Devonta Smith in that. Let's not bash our head against the wall against the Las Vegas Raiders. We're in the stretch run. We've secured this lead against a woeful team with our former backup quarterback playing against us in this one. And so, yeah, the Eagles are a team that, you know, can vary the effort against a team like the Raiders. And honestly, considering the way the Commanders' season is going, I think they can do that again.
They're just dangerous enough playing them twice in 3 weeks. It's a great coaching test. If we think that the offensive coaching staff of the Eagles is really poor, like if you're playing a team twice in 3 weeks, I do think that's a chance for, if one of the teams is really well coached, to find a solution in one of those 2 games.
I'd like to see Jalen Hurts run the way that he did, too, last week. That was his highest rushing yards since week 4 against Tampa Bay. And it was only 40 yards, but it made a big difference. He set them up in key scoring position multiple times, so he's making smart decisions. And frankly, I can't believe I'm uttering this sentence because of everything we know that Saquon Barkley accomplished last year, but takes the pressure a little bit off of Saquon Barkley when you have that threat, a little bit more dimension in ways that teams just really weren't scared of earlier, especially when they weren't under center as much.
You know what's having a good year? The old Football Outsiders / prospectus curse of 375. This was a big deal in the fantasy community back in the aughts and the early 2010s. Once you go over 375 carries or touches for a season, the next season, the running backs traditionally fall off significantly. And this year, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley.
I mean, look at their offensive lines, though, too. I mean, like, the Eagles' offensive line is also not what it was last year.
Yeah, I think
neither are the Ravens.
375, the big two for me, correlation and causation. Sometimes they get in fights in people's heads.
It's a lot of work.
Can't tell.
It's a lot of work. You know who didn't have
cloud.
a lot of work last week? I like looking at like the snap counts, and sometimes like the Eagles defense barely played against the Raiders, so they're fresh. Like I mean it. I actually think in a short week, it should be a pretty significant difference that like one defense played about 35 snaps last week and the other played 65 or 70. That's a nice little edge for the Eagles, who like to keep their defensive starters on the field. They're not doing a lot of rotating, but it felt like they were rotating last week because they barely played.
And I have to say, I don't think we're talking enough about the season that Cooper DeJean is having. I think, especially if you go, we've talked about this before, the way that he attacks space and the way that he suffocates the air around receivers, around tight ends. You could play him in any matchup. And what was cool about last week, and yes, it was the Raiders, caveat. But what was really cool about last week is that if they tried to flip the matchup and attack a different part of the field, Quinton Mitchell is right there breaking up passes and making plays. I think that this defense is also regathering itself, regrouping after a little bit of a murky middle there.
If you've noticed a lack of commander stock here, it's because they're, I feel like, the most pointless team in the NFL right now. Because there's worse teams, but they're the most pointless because they're just playing out the string with, and I went and checked this, one of the oldest teams, not just they're by far the oldest team this year, but one of the oldest teams this century. Top 5 oldest teams this century. So it's just like so many of these guys won't be there, including like Debo, he's their leading receiver. He has 604 yards this year. I don't think he'll be there. Noah Brown, by the way, is out for the season. He barely played, but he got hurt last week. So it's like, what is there left to say about this team?
They've made the decision for us. Shutting down Jaden Daniels, just in the way that they've been playing as well. And also for the Eagles, before we go to our next game, Jalen Carter in those 2 losses before he had procedures done on both of his shoulders. I think that was something that was a big factor in those losses was Jalen Carter playing hurt. And keep an eye on his practice status this week as we get closer to that game. Not because it's going to matter against the Commanders, but as the season continues.
You know what's big? It's Greg Olsen in an island game. So I've been wishing for him to take over for Kirk on Thursday Night Football. That seems like a logical spot where we could just have Greg Olsen in our lives in an island game. Here's Greg Olsen in an island game.
Here we go,
on a nice Saturday afternoon. Big spot.
Like, you feel like the evaluators need to see good stuff on
No,
tape?
it's more, I think America, a.k.a. me.
The Super Bowl wasn't enough.
We could just enjoy a Greg Olsen game without any distractions except for Tulane beating No Lane.
Yeah.
In Oxford. Let's go.
No Lane. Oh, I got that. Oh, that's so good.
That's a
that is a T-shirt being sold at shout out to the Campus Connection over at Tulane this week.
Oh, I hear they've got a good staff over there.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody's band plays a classic Ludacris hit. Green Bay at Chicago. The over/under is 46.5. Green Bay favored by 1.5. Christian Watson limited in practice, like on the practice field, where considering the way that that injury happened, concerned about that. But congratulations to the Green Bay Packers. Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady on the call. It's another Saturday game, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. So Greg should be well lubricated and celebrating a wave win, Jourdan. Do the Bears get revenge from a couple weeks ago?
Man, I'm so excited for this game because I do think the Bears have a real shot at this. This is going to be tough, though, because I just think that the Packers, regardless, they're missing so many players. A banged-up Christian Watson sounds like he's going to play, reading some of the reports coming out of Green Bay. And then also Josh Jacobs is banged up. He had a monster game last week, but he is playing through some stuff. And so that's certainly a factor here. But I love the way the Bears are playing. I think both of these teams are so well coached and have really had to relearn in different ways their identities at various points of the season, and a lot of that has showed through in the coaching. So this is going to be really fun. I do think the Bears have a real shot at this one.
Yeah, they get them twice in such a short order, and yet it's such a different Packers team.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, without Parsons, who can step up? It's a lot of these draft picks that they would like to get more out of. Lucas Van Ness, Enigbari, who's a good player, but are you gonna get one-on-one pass rush wins? Rashawn Gary, who's quietly had a pretty quiet year considering he's got Micah Parsons on his team. He's not a recent draft pick, but a guy they pay a lot of money to. So it's those guys needing to step up, and I think it's a big LaFleur moment.
Yeah,
I mean, this is
Island LaFleur moment.
Well, you just think about it. It's year 3 with Jourdan Love. It's year 7 of LaFleur. They've kind of been building. The Lions are kind of out of the way right now in the division, and yet you're going to have to come up with some great stuff because Jacobs, I expect to play. He didn't practice Wednesday, but he looked amazing last week. You would expect him to play. But Zach Tom's out of practice, and I think there's an argument, maybe not against the Bears, but there's an argument that Zach Tom is almost as big an injury as Parsons just because of the way it makes that offensive line shake up, and maybe 2-3 positions are now going to be worse on the offensive line if you're without Zach Tom. So there's a lot of holes to plug for LaFleur against this Dennis Allen defense. Your guy, you got to give some love to DA.
Oh yeah, you know
Patrick.
me, my big DA spot. No, but
they're doing well with what they got.
They are. And we've seen this team continue its trend of being able to force and create those turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at last week, the Johnson interception where he just took the ball away from Jerry Jeudy, and you're like, oh, that's the Browns doing weird stuff. No, the Bears have continued to do that for most of this run late in the season, where Micah Parsons was the reason, ultimately, when we made our picks a couple of weeks ago, that I went with the Green Bay Packers in that game, and also the fact that it was at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the roles are reversed in both of those situations, I think it's a Packers win. It was a great game.
The Bears win.
I mean, excuse me, the Bears win.
Yeah.
Where a great game where they're able to run the ball. You wondered if they were going to be able to do that. And I think that, as you said, the cascading impact of what you're asking defenders to do, sans Parsons, goes down to a spot where somebody gets uncomfortable. And Ben Johnson, the receiver of the brisk handshake that got a lot of attention and discussion, and there's fun coach beef here, is going to be able to exploit that.
Oh yeah, this is a micro revenge game for Ben Johnson, who
Sure.
talked a big game in the opening press conference and then lost to Matt LaFleur. And I think that, to your point, Patrick, whoever runs the ball better, and I do think it will be the Chicago Bears because of the way that they've been running the ball behind DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monang Dude, as those who know. This offensive line in Chicago is freaking mashing people. They're mashing people. I'm seeing a version of Jonah Jackson out there that I never thought I would see again. They are obliterating the line of scrimmage, and it's fantastic. And it's something that,
including the Packers in the second half of that game.
It is something that is quite a statement for them to make this year. And Caleb Williams has been talking about how he's nicknamed the offensive linemen as characters of the Avengers. Now, I'm not very cool, so I only know 2 of these, but I'm going to read them to you. Here's what this is courtesy of Zach Pearson, what Caleb Williams calls each player on the offensive line from the Avengers. Ozzy Trapilo is Wolverine. Joe Tooney is Doctor Strange. Drew Dahlman is the Hulk. Jonah Jackson is the Red Hulk. Darnell Wright is Bucky. And he said he calls Darnell Wright Bucky because he wears that massive brace on his arm, which is a reference that I understood.
And if you want to get,
not me,
if folks want to get itchy with Caleb on those, there are some situations where Wolverine and Red Hulk are affiliated with the Avengers, as we had new Avengers in
sure.
both,
Which one was Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford was the Red Hulk.
Okay, got it.
So you're saying it's a bit of a stretch.
No, well,
his accuracy here is like it is on the field. Sometimes great, but
a little streaky.
Every once in a while, it's 10 yards over a guy's head.
They're all Marvel characters, and so that could have been the confusion, but yeah, Caleb's fine, and a Wolverine, an actual Michigan Wolverine being a Wolverine makes sense.
So he's played.
I was gonna say, I think the dot connecting there wasn't too big of a lift.
No.
Yeah,
I like that one, and I liked how he played last week against the Browns, where. Look, that's defense is as tough of a matchup as the one he had the week before against the Packers defense with Micah Parsons. And he made really quick decisions. I think the first half of that game was as clean, as amazing as a half that he's played as a pro, and he still was very good in the second. And it makes me think, like, he is a cold weather quarterback. You know, you can't get the weather on. Some guys, they don't look like a cold weather quarterback. Caleb and Jourdan Love, for that matter, those are two cold weather quarterbacks.
I love that.
The weather's not going to enjoy the aerial attack in this game, is what I'm trying to say.
It feels like, does that just mean guys that can throw the ball hard?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it feels like a rock when you catch
Probably.
it. Yeah.
They had a career high, too, in play action last week, and he avoided taking sacks. And
Played great last week.
Yeah. And actually, no, I'm thinking of the Packers game. He had a career high in the play action against the Packers. So, they'll always look to do something. They're a second half running team. They've just been so effective. 62% success rate against the Packers last time. There are a lot of logical points kind of pointing towards Chicago splitting it. And in general, when two teams are relatively even, I expect the split in a tight series. And yet, there is something about me that believes in, like, the Packers have, like, been together a long time, and maybe we'll find a way to win this game anyways.
Ben Johnson may avenge
Oh, there it is.
instead of a revenge game.
Yes.
Maybe.
And that's what they do.
Thank you, Caleb, for the writing fodder.
Yeah.
Yes.
No Rome Odunze or Luther Burden at practice on Wednesday. Now it's a Saturday game, so considering that Burden was in and out of that game, I thought he finished it. Maybe he didn't finish it. So that is something to watch, and Odunze has been out. So that would not be the same Bears team that you want. But you mentioned the turnovers. They are plus 20 in terms of turnovers.
Bananas.
There's only one other team. It's the Jaguars, who I think 6 behind them. That's even more than plus 10. So not only are they, not turning the ball over and doing it, like, they're doing it at a level that no team in the NFL is even close to.
Yeah. Which could make the variance pretty high.
Yeah.
Like if we go back to that Dan Quinn Cowboys team a few years ago. It's time for an update on one of my favorite things that I'm tracking here this 2025 season. As we discuss the Los Angeles Chargers at the Dallas Cowboys, who are favored by 2.5. The over-under is 49.5. Adam Amin on the call, along with Drew Brees, Gregg Rosenthal. Greg, how do you feel things are going? I know you had some coaching up for Drew Brees. How's Drew Brees doing?
I can't say I was locked in. He had the 49ers game last week. It was on Game Pass. You don't get a full feel. So I'll look into that this week. I want to watch that. I feel like it's been getting a little better.
Okay.
A little more energy.
All right. A little more energy, a little better. What do you think about the football game here?
Nothing.
The Cowboys somehow favored. They can't stop anybody, Greg.
No, I really am into the Drew Brees of it all, because he's just kind of slid in here in the late season.
He's a sudden change situation.
Yeah. He is like Tommy DeVito in the Backups ad, except
this is a fall off from the circumstance.
Yeah, the
No.
circumstance.
Well, yeah, that's he
the
replaced
cascading impact of the circumstance.
The ripple effect, some would say.
Yeah. Not as light as those backup quarterback commercials.
Yeah,
Mark Sanchez got booted.
We'll workshop
Brees
it.
came in. I'm shocked that the Cowboys are favored. I know you don't like talking about the line, and it's there to inspire, people to spend their money.
I don't mind talking about it.
I get that.
He's so in your head.
But and 2.5 at home is kind of the classic, we don't know what to do with this game type of line, which is fair. But man, don't you got to give the Chargers a little bit of love? I think what's underlying the numbers here is that the Chargers maybe have been winning in ways that are not necessarily repeatable. But I would push back on that, because I think the defense of the Chargers is the most repeatable group in this game right now. I actually trust them more than the Cowboys offense.
Yeah, they're rushing the passer. Odafe Owe was the missing piece, as well as getting Khalil Mack, obviously, back from injured reserve, and Tui Tuipulotu having a great season. This statistic is courtesy of my colleague at The Athletic, Daniel Popper, who hunted this up for us today in his great story over on that site. When those three are on the field together, they are getting pressure at a 55% rate. The league average is around 36. So when those three are on the field rushing together, getting pressure, it is an incredible difference that this has made. And it allows Jesse Minter truly, and you can see it come to life on the field, to play the coverage structures behind a pass rush like that he wants to play. And Odafe Owe has 7 sacks in 9 games. He really was, I guess, the Damashek Jenga piece for this defense to help bring what they really want to do to life.
And the crazy part, and this is courtesy of the Guilty as Charged podcast. They had
Yeah.
this note. I really like what they're doing. And Owe is basically rushing on the interior. And last week, they really scrambled Mahomes. And I went back to watch it after I heard them point it out. They just rushed 3, like most of the big passing downs. Owe on the inside,
Yeah.
the other 2 on the outside.
Just
And they
awesome.
created a ton of pressure.
It's so rad, dude.
I mean, you can't do that type of stuff every week, but the 3 of them, in terms of their pressure rate, they are, 3 of the top 20 edges, if you count Owe as an edge, in the NFL in terms of like QB hits and big play rate. And so that is a great combo. And it's taken, no offense to Bud Dupree, him off the field. So then it's just been a big upgrade. And Mac, as great as Owe is, Mac is kind of the key, because rewatching that game, my God,
Yeah.
stuffing the run, he might be the best run stuffing edge in the league. In addition to what he's doing, that dude's ageless, obviously like a Hall of Famer, but it does remind me a little bit of like Kurt Warner with the Cardinals, where it's just like, man, he's just making sure he's a Hall of Famer with this Chargers streak late in his career. You know what I mean?
Question.
It's just like, it's another whole chapter of an incredible career.
There will be no need to come back at 44 years old to play for the
Go rest,
for the Raiders
my friend.
or the Bears. It's like Khalil Mack will be in and good. And I just wish, prior to the completion of the trade, if little brother had told big brother, hey, we plan on rushing him on the inside, have you guys thought about doing that? Before, the numbers go through the roof and Odafe Owe is the best defensive pass rusher in the history of the NFL after the trade.
It's fair.
I
They're
love that you
They're
said
basically
that.
not making him do stuff he's bad at.
I
which is, like,
know.
try to stop
What a
the run.
concept. And I love that. And I'm not trying, please, listener, I'm not trying to mansplain the listener, but think about when you're rushing 3, right? Think about that's 8 people behind him that you can put quite the cap over the back of this defense. And that's part of the reason they're getting some of the takeaways that they're getting, and they're able to confuse these quarterbacks. I love what you said early about winning in unconventional ways and leaning on this defense with so many injuries. And obviously Justin Herbert's been amazing, but so many injuries along that offensive front, leaning on what is like a stability factor that happens to be incredibly decisive and really influence a game in significant ways. It's not just like a stable piece of the equation that is like maybe hidden, like a kicking game, which is great, or something like that. No, this actually affects the outcomes of these games.
And it's really been great since the bye week, especially. Now, this will be the best offense they've faced since the bye week. So I'm looking forward to it. And you do get the full Cowboys, arsenal that you're going against, except the offensive line is a little banged up. I went into the season talking about, I thought this was the biggest boom or bust offensive line. They've had great moments. They've had bad moments. They're definitely not playing their best right now.
They're so hurt.
Yeah, and they're injured, and we don't have all the Tylers available. Let's hear from Shoddy, your guy, talking about Dak Prescott's availability down the stretch.
Joe Milton, if you guys are eliminated, is there at any point where you'd want to see him play?
I want to win, so plan would be to play Dak.
Yeah,
All right.
I never understand. I mean, I guess I understand the question, but why would you sit Dak Prescott or any starting quarterback? It always seems like a strange idea to me.
Yeah, I just wonder if you're Joe Milton, how do you feel? Because you got directly invoked there.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, we're not going to win with Joe Milton.
Took a little side swipe. Took a little side swipe.
Why am I in it?
Oh my God.
My concern for Dallas is ever since that first half, George Pickens went up for a catch against the Detroit Lions, came down hard, has been listed with knee injuries since, and the performance has fallen off. And of course, CD playing through all the different things. That's the Cowboys' superpower. And with Bland, to a certain extent, you look at a particular rep of the Cowboys defense, and everybody is coming back from a major surgery.
Yeah,
and they can't cover, they can't rush the passer, and I know that the Gregg Roman of it all and the Chargers, we're concerned about the offense. Guys are going to be open. Lad's going to be running by himself.
We'll see.
Well,
I mean, the last 2 weeks it's been rough. The Gregg Roman, he has not beaten the allegations that he had in Baltimore. There just weren't guys there for Herbert. I actually thought the offensive line played pretty well last week for the Chargers. That wasn't necessarily, and it reminded me of the game I was at watching in person where I could see it. None of those receivers who are very talented were open, although they were often in the same area. You would think this week could be different because, yeah, they've struggled in Dallas. And Quinnen Williams, this is a big absence, is in the concussion protocol and not at practice, meaning he's probably not playing. Deron Bland also not at practice.
And Matt Eberflus, I mean, for all the Renaissance commentary, Matt Eberflus is quite under the microscope here. And Jerry Jones has even said that they're looking at everything, which is like the death knell for anybody on the staff, and they're evaluating over the last couple of games. And you could see it. So it might not matter that receivers are running the exact same routes and stacking on top of each other in confusing ways by Gregg Roman, because there's not a lot of people covering other people when you're talking about the scheme of that Eberflus defense right now.
I have a little trivia for you before we take a break. And this game's interesting. I'm obviously taking the Chargers. I might have to take that on the pick show with Cynthia.
I think you should.
Which the streak's still going. The greatest streak in sports. 11 straight winning week. 3-0 last week. There was a man playing for the Los Angeles Chargers last week. He played 43 snaps. That was very recently a member of the Baltimore Ravens and was once, I believe, atop my free agency rankings in a given offseason. Can you name that man? I was stunned when I went and looked. I was like, who is that number 31 on the field? I believe it was last week.
All right, so the number, it's not Tony Jefferson.
It was a different number on the Ravens. I believe he was 32 on the Ravens. This is great podcasting here. A disappointment, I would say, with the Baltimore Ravens. Is playing for the Los Angeles Chargers right now.
Oh, multiple of them. That's nice.
No, yeah, that's true.
I looked it up, so I can't say. I should.
Marcus Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe only I'm interested in this.
No.
But former
Forgot he was still in the league?
New Orleans Saints great. I don't think he was. He wasn't in the league until last week when he played a full complement of snaps for the Chargers. So they're just making it happen all over the roster.
It's funny. It's like it's either Tony Jefferson or Marcus.
Yeah, I would have been here for a long time.
Yeah.
I did not think Marcus was back.
I did not know that either, but that's why that's why you watch, I guess. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back on the other side for a game that's been disrespected. It didn't even make it into the first block of our show. And it's disrespected, frankly, by the announcers Fox assigned to the game.
Wow. Disrespect. Chris Myers.
Back on NFL Daily. Before we took a break, Patrick said I had a Dealey Plaza-like drive-by on the announcing crew. But Fox ranks the announcers. They tell you before the season, what's our number 5 team? What's our number 6 team? Yeah. So I'm just going off of that. And they essentially assigned their number 6 team to the battle for the NFC South title. That's kind of crazy.
So who are you saying is being disrespected here?
The team.
The NFC
the
South.
Bucs and the Panthers deserve better.
And you're saying that strictly based off the hierarchy from Fox, not necessarily your evaluation.
Fox is telling you that the Vikings-Giants is a better game than that.
All right.
Greg, sometimes you just walk right into it, Patrick. Greg.
Your Greg Heat Check warrant commission here as we look forward to the game of the year in the NFC South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-point favorites in Charlotte against the Carolina Panthers. The over-under is 45.5. Chris Myers and Mark Schlereth, who we love and appreciate, are on the call. Jourdan?
Yes.
It was an annoying, as predicted, game for the Panthers against the Saints. They lost. They lost the big opportunity. Do they get it back against Baker?
This is quietly one of the best games of this slate. The stakes are so high for both of these teams. And I think the Panthers are so streaky in, like you mentioned, such an infuriating way where the teams that you maybe, whether it's the line or us as analysts or whatever, that you would not expect them to beat, they dominate or at least come down to the wire and win at the last second. And then the teams that you would expect them to struggle against, the teams that you would expect them to beat easily, they just don't. And this is one of those games where I think Tampa Bay has kind of shown a little bit of those streaky qualities too. So it's two teams that have just been unsteady against a variety of different types of opponents and schemes and game plans all season, or at least for Tampa Bay, the second half of the season, and now colliding in the ultimate back against the wall game. And I expect pure chaos.
I mean, these teams are both 7-7, and I think it's fair to say neither of them are as good as their record. I mean, the Bucs are 2-5 in their last 7 games. The Panthers, yeah, in theory, you expect them to win, I guess, big against the Saints, but there was a reason, like, the line wasn't that big. Like, they don't beat anyone big. They had that one Falcons win, but everything else comes down to the wire. And the thing that concerns me the most about them is that they're a bad running team. Like, their whole identity was about running the football. Since week 10, they are either 30th or 31st in EPA per rush or success rate. And that's where it was just one play that the game turned in New Orleans. And it was a simple play. It was not being able to pick up a 4th and 1 where the Saints stuffed them. But the whole game changed then. And it was part of a running game they just haven't been able to rely on now for a while. I actually thought Bryce Young played very well in that game. Their offense actually played very well. There just wasn't many possessions until that fourth quarter, basically until that moment. But I think it's asking a lot for Bryce to have like a better than average passing attack if the running game's not good and the defense is at best.
Yeah, Rico Dowdle's taken a step back from the excitement earlier in the season. And this offensive line is still perfectly capable of being an above average group. And I think they're one of the more underrated groups in the league as a whole. The player that I really am interested in seeing continuing to emerge is Jalen Coker for Bryce Young, because over the last couple of weeks, he's played fantastic. He obviously was injured. He started the bulk of the season with dealing with an injury that he received at the very, very end, right before the season actually began. And where we thought Ted McMillan was going to start lining up in all of the receiving spots because he had a couple of games that were highly productive doing so, and there's a lot of excitement about it. Jalen Coker, sneaky, is that guy. He's lining up wide 35% of the time per next gen. He's in the slot 60% of the time. And then, obviously he can come out of the backfield, very rare occasion, and then lining up tight next to the condensed formation or close to the stack. And he's giving the quarterback above a 100 passer rating at any alignment, and he's producing. He's getting open. And so for me, it's like, okay, does he now start to become somebody who can really affect this passing game in a way that I think we thought? And it's a rookie season for T-Mac. There's no doubt coming from me on him. But Jalen Coker is the one who's really affecting defenses right now.
And I think it's you need Jalen Coker in this game, considering the way that Jamel Dean has played and the side matchup between Dean and T-Mac. It's going to be a lot of Jamel Dean on T-Mac. And I want to pick the Carolina Panthers in this game. Obviously, like, I'm a huge Bryce supporter. There's no secret to anybody that listens to this podcast. But the Bryce numbers against the blitz, where you need to be able to play and have success offensively against the blitz. And if the run game is bogged down, like, Bryce's EPA per drop back is negative 30 against the blitz.
Wow.
This season. That's 5 or more. 5 and up, because you have to add in the heavy blitz numbers. He's right there with Shador and Dylan Gabriel and also Baker Mayfield, where I'm trusting the Bucs defense a little bit more than the Panthers defense. Although Tyler Shuck's getting people here late. I don't think it's as big as an indictment as it would have felt several weeks ago. The way that they played. I know J.C. Horn had a shot at one of those game-changing interceptions that just kind of glanced off his fingers. It was the Saints really limiting the opportunities, and that's what it's been like for the Panthers in these close games, where it's like it is that 1 4th down. It is that couple of opportunities because the defense is either getting the ball out and getting the offense back on the field, or it's long, laborious drives over and over again.
So I mentioned how bad they were running the ball. They're equally bad stopping the run. So in terms of what football coaches back certainly in the 70s and 80s, but they still talk about it. It's like, you want to run the ball, you want to stop the run. The Panthers are one of the worst teams in the NFL at doing that right now. That needs to turn around. But we don't know if the Buccaneers are really ready to be a team that takes advantage. Let's listen to Baker Mayfield this week, because the expectations, they were different than where this team is at. And yet everything's still in front of them if they can get their act together.
The finger pointing is only happening if you have bad culture in the building. So that's not a problem we have to deal with. We met on Monday with the offense, and I told him what I said in the post-game press conference. I said, it's on me, it's on this group. I expect us to be able to score more than 28 in a situation like that and put the game out of reach. So you should nip it in the bud in the beginning. the easy thing to do is point at the defense because of the situation. It's the last thing you see in the game. But if you look at the whole game, you look at the way it played, blame me. Don't blame Todd.
A little recency bias commentary from Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Don't look at the last thing you saw in a game. I will say, and I appreciate that he's doing that. The Bucs have turned into, from one of the best defenses in terms of success rate that they started the season with, they are very susceptible, especially to the explosive play. They've given up 111 explosive plays this season, and that's worse than like the Ravens, for example, or the Saints. And so where you can, some of the like bits and pieces look stable, and some of the like little pieces that offenses take out of them look stable for most of the game, they have been for weeks highly susceptible to the explosive play.
I don't know what to think about this game. Zion McCollum, by the way, is out for the year. The Bucs cornerback who got a big contract and struggled all season. Didn't seem healthy, but was kind of picked on. Like, Bucky Irving has not been the most effective running back on that team. Sean Tucker and Rachaad White have been better on a per snap basis. It's a big offensive rookie of the year battle. If you look at T-Mac and Emeka Egbuka's stats, they're almost identical in every capacity. I'm not saying they're even the only two candidates, but it's interesting they'll go against each other twice in the final 3 weeks. I'm feeling generous. It's the holiday season.
Oh,
I might just give this game to Jourdan.
There.
I feel like you can enjoy
I'm going to get in the mud and love it.
Myers and Schlereth on the call. No, I really want this game. It's great, but it does feel like a big time Jourdan game.
And also, speaking of,
I look forward to what other games he gives me and then gives himself as a. You are sounding like you've got something plotted here.
That Herbert game. I want to watch Herbert every week.
and to circle back to how we started this segment of the podcast, I believe it was Baker Mayfield in the School Book Depository with the Cleveland Browns driving through Dealey Plaza when he talked about bad culture and a chance to pick up his team, but also maybe send some rounds down the range.
Also, like a little bit of a humble brag. It's like, hey, you got to score more than 28 points. It's like, well, 28 points per game would be like the best offense in NFL
like,
history, or one of them.
All I can do is put up, 28 points, and that's on me. Like, okay.
Yeah. How about an offense that consistently scores 28 points? That's the Buffalo Bills, who are favored by 10 on the road at the Cleveland Browns defense, which has seen a lot of things go the other direction these past few weeks. The over-under is 42.5. Ian Eagle and J.J. Watt. Greg, on the call, the only thing that I am interested in this game, does Miles get 1.5?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Oh, no.
Well, because, okay, Josh Allen does take some sacks, I believe, more this year. Now I'm doing that off the top of my head. Traditionally, he doesn't. But this is a great offensive line, and it's obviously a situation where I think they could be playing with a positive game script. And so you think of Spencer Brown and you think of Deion Dawkins. There's not many tackle combos in the NFL that are better than that. And considering how easy it's been to run on the Browns defense the last couple of weeks, a little surprising.
Josh Allen has taken tied the second most number of sacks he's taken in a season in his career since 2019.
Yeah.
That was 38. Right now he's at 33, tied for his 2022.
Yeah, so that's been a problem for them this season. Such a big change from last season. He took 14 all season, which is like incredible. I just don't know if he's going to be dropping back more than 20, 25 times in this game. So
yeah, run the ball.
Nor should he.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but it doesn't seem like they need to. They're just worried about winning a ball game.
Yeah, and run the ball. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I don't have much to say about this Cleveland Browns unit. Like, let it end, right? I said that about the Giants last week. Let it end. For God's sake, let it end.
Let's actually hear Josh Allen. A last-minute addition. Great producing behind the glass by Eric Roberts and Jason Kleinman.
No, I haven't thought about it. I do like highlight tapes, but I don't like being a part of other people's highlight tapes. He's an absolutely tremendous football player. He's one of the greatest of all times. He's a force to be reckoned with.
I should have noted that was Josh Allen talking about the sack record, not Eric Roberts and Jason Kleinman. Talking about Myles Garrett coming at him.
It might as well have been, Eric Roberts, he had that clip queued up. It's probably what he's, listening to.
He's seeing all the national heads are like, well, I guess if you have to pick an AFC team, the Bills are as likely as anyone, and they need to keep winning. There's a lot of reasons to believe that'll continue this week.
Yes. we believe in the Buffalo Bills. Also, again, shout out to and again, it's been a lot of tortured discussion,
Mhm.
but the Cleveland Browns 2025 draft class, top to bottom, things have panned out, especially considering Harold Fannin as well as.
And yet, I don't think that should save their front office when they're paying 3 or 4 different offensive linemen who are no longer playing well or healthy and aged into next season, even if they're not on the team. And the same thing with Njoku. And of course, Deshaun Watson. Like, they are in a rough situation. I don't want to get into a long one with that. I did want to note one thing I noticed last week is Brandon Cooks had like a drop at the beginning of that game. And then he has 1 catch in 65 snaps for the Bills. And Keon Coleman is back to just playing significantly more than Brandon Cooks. But so that's on the offensive side. On the defensive side, you know who's been getting it done? Like all the old guys. Like last week it was Jordan Poyer off the couch. Matt Milano looked pretty good.
Tre'Davious White.
had
Who
a
is
big
that
game.
man? Looked totally different than
Like,
he has.
Daquan Jones, I don't know how old Daquan Jones is, but it feels like he's been in the NFL for 15 years. And just shout out to those guys getting it done.
They got in the right
look
spots.
At this play. What a great play by Tre'Davious White for that interception against New England. And we talked about this too. The second half of games, if we want to talk about defenses bringing it consistently, now across the entirety of a game, we want to see it still. But the Bills in the second half of football games have been rock solid all season.
And there's this idea that they're somehow lesser than they've been in previous years. Look, the team that they almost made the Super Bowl, at least I thought they would have if they won that overtime game against the Chiefs. They lost 6 games that year. 2 seasons ago, when they were right in the mix, they lost 6 games that year. Like last season, they lost 4 games. You know, they were a better, but I don't think they're that much different. You know who's leading the NFL right now in yard differential, which I think is a good stat?
Yeah.
Like, you've gained more yards than your opponent. The Buffalo Bills, like, leads the NFL. They're a good football team, and yet they're very likely to be a wild card.
I like how you pose the question as if we could possibly guess that it was the Cleveland Browns.
True.
It's the Browns.
I would have thought it'd be the Rams or someone else other than the Bills, but it's the Bills. The Bills are very likely, I don't want to disappoint all the fans out there, to be the wild card, because even if the Patriots lose to the Ravens, they will hold the tie breaks if they win their last 2 games against the Jets and Dolphins, which is not, a definite. But so even if the Bills lose out and they get a little help this week with the Patriots losing to the Ravens, even then in a tie scenario, the Patriots do win the division over the Bills because of that Dolphins loss.
I know you're glad to fit that little note in right at the end of the segment here.
No, he wants to prepare.
Well, I don't want it in the Patriots because that we got more ball game to talk about,
Yeah. Let's get to a ball game. We talked about an perennial AFC contender with a generationally talented quarterback. This is another one, but they're not a contender anymore. The Cincinnati Bengals are favored by 5.5 points at the Miami Dolphins, who are going to run Quinn Ewers out. And Jourdan, do we have crystal updates? How are we feeling
Crystal
about this game
updates
where the vibes could be down horrendous for everybody involved?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of kind of read the comments from Mike McDaniel correctly here that Tua Tagovailoa was likely going to get benched, and now he has been. He's not even the backup. He's the emergency third quarterback for this Miami Dolphins team at this point. And among the many contracts that have been have sort of bogged down this team over the years, this is going to be one of them. In fact, I think what surprised me was some of the reaction coming from a player who's like not even in the building right now via Tyreek Hill on social media.
Yeah, he had a tweet with just a peace sign. Like, who knows? I think
it's normally a GIF of the guy chucking the deuces and vanishing.
Yeah,
and so that's
and he's
Tyreek Hill. And then
I'm also like, do you know if you're going to be there next year, buddy? Like,
well, I think that's what he's saying. See ya, and extra see ya since Tua's benched too. But he also said that Teron Armstead, T-Stead in his words, started all this by wanting to be a podcaster. So I don't know if I take Tyreek Hill's comments too seriously. I think he's lightly jabbing Teron Armstead. Heck, left tackle has been the least of their problems, by the way, this year. Patrick Paul. So yeah, Quinn Ewers.
There it is.
One of the most highly recruited
is this the
high school college players of the decade. Didn't really work out that way.
Texas quarterback to start since Chris Sims?
Well,
no, we've had Colt McCoy in any number.
Oh, I forgot. You know what? People always forget about Colt McCoy.
I'm
People
trying to think.
always-
There's got to be other ones. No, that's it.
People always
Vince,
Vince
Cole.
Young,
yeah,
certainly.
yeah.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Vince Young.
Vince Young. Yeah, couldn't forget about Vince Young.
So I want to point out, because people didn't believe this when I sent it out on Blue Sky today, that Quinn Ewers did have one of the best throws of the year. And so if you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you.
Forgot about that.
Like and subscribe, but you can see Quinn Ewers deliver a dime 50 yards, air yards down the field while getting run over. And when I showed you this the first time, Patrick, you said, well, I wouldn't have believed it until I saw it. And now you've completely forgotten it.
Yeah, no,
You can see it from multiple angles. Getting hammered, drops it in a bucket. I believe that's to Westbrook Akine down the field. No, it's
that.
D. Eskridge.
That's it. The Quinn Ewers D. Eskridge connection. A highlight for the 2025 Miami Dolphins, where hopefully Tua finds a spot and he gets healthy. Clearly, there's something physically going on with Tua Tagovailoa. The velocity falling off of the map. The hot air balloon to Waddle was when I thought, like, watching that game, in a game that I wanted and needed the Miami Dolphins to win.
Not a cold weather quarterback.
Well, when the velocity's gone, because I promise, like, to those just discovering Tua Tagovailoa in 2025, he used to have more of an arm than this.
You know what's crazy, though? That the line moved like 5 points with Tua to Quinn Ewers. So I was like, that seems aggressive, just for the difference between the two of them. I'm sure Mike McDaniel's thinking, I know the team's not as good, but when they put a little scare in the playoffs with, why am I forgetting his name? Thompson?
Skylar.
Skylar
Thompson. A couple of years ago. I'm sure he's wanting to show his wares, and it's against a vulnerable defense that will be without Trey Hendrickson. Shout out to Miles Murphy, first round pick from a few years ago, who's playing pretty well.
Do you know what really struck me? I know this whole situation is a mess in Miami, but what really struck me was the word choice that Mike McDaniel used. He said he needed convicted quarterback play. And I'm like, oh, because to me that speaks about decision making and confidence and a lot of things in the subtext of using that word versus deciding to say literally anything else.
Yeah, not a quarterback that's playing with confidence. I do think just because teams always need quarterbacks, they could probably get someone to pay. I'm going to put over under $15 million of Tua's 55, and the cap hits a little less if it's a trade versus a cut, and you save it off the $15 million. I just think someone will maybe take him on as like a backup 1B.
What about Tua Tagovailoa's entry into the Kyle Shanahan school for quarterbacks who used to throw good and want to throw good too?
Okay.
What is that, a school for ants?
Yeah, you send Mac along to some team that's willing to give up too much for Mac Jones, and then you bring in Tua as a discount for Brock Purdy. I like that as a backup next year. That makes sense. Let's take a break, and we will wrap up the early game from Sunday. Back on NFL Daily. We got 3 more games to get to, and it's sad none of them have playoff ramifications. But we're good broadcasters. We're good podcasters. We're going to make them interesting. And also, we've got the late game preview. That's coming up, too, in the feed.
Oh, it's more than interesting, Greg, because you have a tale of 2 cities and 2 quarterbacks, because J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings, fresh off a win against the Dallas Cowboys, Jourdan Rodrigue, looked pretty good on offense, other than throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, against a Giants team that has the hopes, the fates of the most important city in the world, where people have to try extra hard because of the media and Jackson Dart getting a whole lot of attention. Which quarterback has the better rookie performance this time?
What a setup.
It's impactful.
JJ's played like a rookie, but not technically a rookie.
He's given him a red shirt.
First season.
He's given him a red shirt.
Oh, he did.
NFL.
Yeah. So I liked what I saw for the most part from JJ McCarthy last week. This is similar. Remember last year when we would watch some Caleb Williams, and Caleb would make these throws that you don't believe are even possible every once in a while, and then there would just be a lot of learning curve in the middle, and then obviously the scheme and it was such a mess there. Not the case in Minnesota, but I'm kind of getting those vibes where like he's starting to understand his variance a little bit more. Now, whether or not he understands the dance moves he's supposed to do in the end zone or not, I'm not sure. But I think we heard a little bit from him this week on the gritty.
I did it in practice, and I was told not to do it. So it's just me, being who I am. It's like, oh, now I'm more enticed to do it. But if it's that open, obviously just get in the end zone no matter what and be coachable and do what my coach says. So, yeah, I'll definitely get a minus for that one.
That's 9 right there.
I'm gonna touch the butt.
It turned from 9 to JJ mid conversation because then he realized how it sounded. He was like, if Kevin O'Connell, who did laugh about it when I first read the quotes without
it looked so bad in
face.
print. It was totally fine.
Yeah, like Kevin O'Connell's laughing about it, but I was like, oh, he told him not to do it, and so then he did it. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, nobody tells him.
But then 9 just turns right into JJ.
What's that movie with? Is it James McAvoy is the actor? Splice or something?
Oh, yeah,
that?
Split. It's
Split. Yeah.
one of the regrettable Shyamalan franchise.
So many to choose from. JJ is now leading the NFL in big time full weight, which is really kind of an indictment on the
really.
He's tied with Stafford. Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised just because. I mean, I am surprised. What am I saying? I'm shocked. But last week he had a ton, and he hasn't had a ton of throws.
Big time full.
Big time full weight.
Whoa.
It's just a stat, and usually it's the best quarterbacks in the league that are at the top of that stat. If it's not like it's usually a fluky player. So he has made, to your point, some big time plays, and I do think his final 3 weeks is going to be really important for how we kind of evaluate his offseason and season. If he continues to play like this for 3 more weeks, and the last 2 games are against the Packers and the Lions, and he looks good, it's like I'm going to feel completely different than I did.
Salvaging it. And speaking of, like James McAvoy, occasionally we do see Jackson Dart have great performances within a regrettable franchise. And there's that Jackson Dart. And then there's the absolute opposite. First read isn't there. Oh, well, YOLO, I'm going to run down here and smash my head into somebody. Stay safe, please, Jackson. Which one do we get here?
Or on the ground.
This is a brutal matchup, I think, for him.
Oh, yeah, against this defense, yeah.
To figure out. The first half of that game was as bad as he looked this year against the Commanders, and then second half he played well. I just think they're going to throw a lot at him. Now, they do have a good offensive line that, maybe they can communicate and figure out the protections better than most would. But one of the things on the other side, too, is JJ, like, they've gone almost all 11 personnel the last couple of weeks, and that's really helped them, to the point where people are like, oh, maybe we should have done this sooner.
Yeah, well, when people talk about simplifying something, I mean, that's what they mean. They're running most of their concepts out of one look, and where that could sometimes bite you in the butt if against certain defenses. In this case, it's fine because it gives everybody clarity and speed with which to make decisions because they're not sifting through multiple personnels or changing the formations. I mean, they are, but like they're not changing the personnels within the same play, which I think would help a younger quarterback out.
And technically still alive here. One of my worst over-under picks of the year. Vikings over 8.5. Not eliminated.
Oh.
I mean, they would have to beat the Packers and the Lions in a row, but not eliminated.
Little
daylight with this winning streak.
The daylight has...
You guys almost lost me there for a second. Oh, my God.
The daylight has come to a close in Florham Park. The New York Jets going on the road to the New Orleans Saints, who are favored by 4.5 points. Tom McCarthy and Ross Tucker on the call, where the odds makers have noticed the same thing we have. Tyler Shuck playing pretty good ball right now, Greg.
That is a real look in the mirror moment for the Jets, that they're 4.5 point underdogs against New Orleans, and I don't think it's enough. I'm taking New Orleans. Easy. I mean, this is one of the worst defenses we've seen with the Jets. We've seen Shuck look pretty good in tougher situations. The thing about Shuck that I love, and you're seeing it on his highlights, is if it's a 3rd and 13, that man is throwing it 15 yards. There's no checking it down. His guy might be covered pretty well in man coverage. He's throwing that ball in there, and for the most part, it's going to be accurate. And Devon Bailey's going to be making some plays for him. Devon Bailey's been great the last couple of weeks. He got banged up at the end of that game. but he's really helped them out. Olave dominated
Mm-hmm.
in the final 2 drives of that game after being quiet. Shuck has really opened my eyes, and it's what the end of the season is all about for a team like the Saints.
Yeah, and the Jets, they can't get pressure, so they blitz a lot, which is great news if you're Tyler Shuck because, yes, his season overall is a limited sample size, but he's thrown 3 touchdowns, no interceptions against the blitz this season per Next Gen, one of 9 quarterbacks who have not thrown an interception against the blitz this year. And so there's 9, right?
Mm.
Oh, the real 9.
Oh, the authentic
The
9.
authentic no, but I feel like it's good because they're going to throw the kitchen sink at him because again they're not getting pressure any other way. This is another like build out your offense type of game. This is another. We've said this about some of these matchups over the last couple of weeks, especially for teams that are beyond the pale at this point. This is a try stuff, a figure stuff out kind of game, especially for that Saints offense that's putting it together. Saints defense is much improved as well.
Tyler Shuck used to wear the number 9.
Can't wear it there, obviously.
Now he wears 6, because 6 is 3 less than 9. That's the explanation.
Oh.
It's close enough.
Okay.
Maybe it's the upside down 9.
Like they missed a field goal or
Like that's legitimately the.
I don't know. That was the
That's the Greg-
explanation that I found for it. You know, he couldn't wear the 9 there.
understandably.
Quick eyes, Tyler Shuck. Like he's making quick decisions. And
Yeah,
Aaron,
well, he's seen a lot of football, Greg.
he has seen a lot of football. That man has been around a long time. You know who else has Aaron Glenn, whose defenses have not performed how he's wanted them to the last couple of years? He fired Steve Wilkes
Yeah.
as defensive coordinator this week. We hadn't hit that yet. And yeah, I think it's going to be more of Glenn, I guess, now calling the plays for the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to the future in Florham Park.
A lot of picks. See what they do with them.
We'll see.
Chuck's got to keep it going too, because Michael Penix had a great 4 games everyone got excited about. Jackson Dart, after 3 or 4 games, I think we felt differently about than we do now. So the real test being an NFL quarterback, like we've seen guys pop up. Will Levis had some moments as a rookie quarterback. I want to see him land the plane here down the stretch.
Shout out to Chase Young. Very, 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 very quietly having a little bit of a comeback here. A little resurgence. Played really well.
And how about the Saints? Like they might
Yeah,
not
high pressure rate.
this year where everyone was saying they would draft 1 overall. Hell, they're over under very much on the table, and they might not be drafting in the top 8 or 9 picks at this rate.
You know why? Front office. Make a great decision.
Oh yeah, they're gonna re-sign Mickey Loomis to a 40-year contract after this. Oh, let's go crazy. We lost double-digit games again.
So let's get
What are we? 9. Excuse me. It was 10 before.
Let's get a 40-year deal for the best in the game. Kevin Harlan and Trent Green on the call for CBS as the Mahomes-less Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 3.5, but they are on the road at a Tennessee Titans team that has the hottest running back in the game right now in Tony Pollard going up against a good rushing defense. Am I crazy, Jourdan, for thinking that Cam and the Titans have a good opportunity to knock off Gardner Minshew here?
You're not crazy at all. No Mahomes. Chiefs are eliminated. Like, bad vibes, rebuild vibes in multiple phases of their team. Dealing with the aftershock of the Mahomes injury. The Titans just kind of have been playing for the hell of it for most of this season. Yeah, I do think, absolutely, I think the Titans have a shot in this one.
Well, the Chiefs also, their practice report, and you never know.
Mhm.
But it just felt like a practice report of a team that no longer has anything to play for. Maybe not, but Juwan Taylor, he's been out. Wanya Morris has been out, but Trent McDuffie also injured. Rashee Rice, I believe, was out of practice.
Protocol.
He's in the concussion protocol, so they're not going to push players maybe to play. Not that you would escape the protocol without being able to pass the test, but I don't know. They might not be pushing players to play through injuries right now.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
Especially the vets when you talk about the Kelseys and the Chris Joneses of the world. I mean, we say it was true 3 seasons ago. You go on these extended postseason runs where they've come out of the wild card on a couple of these times to go to the Super Bowl and gone on the road to go to the Super Bowl. They've played extra seasons worth of football. Like it's not, it's not like questioning their fortitude if they choose to sit some guys here after being eliminated and shout out to Gardner Minshew and the run that he had after he invented RVs and facial hair, where he garnered a lot of attention in the national media. But you asked famously, Greg, when does he stop getting away with it? I think here, December 2025, maybe when Gardner Minshew stops.
Not a bad matchup for him, though.
Jeffrey Simmons coming right up at him, right up the A gap right there. Potentially a threat in the passing game too.
That's true. His
Two-way star.
Two-way star.
I
thought it was going to be Travis Hunter, but it's Jeffrey Simmons.
I went and checked this because on the podcast previously, I was like, I think Jeffrey Simmons could be the first team All-Pro. He's actually never been that before. And I was like, well, I got to think. Like, are there any other options this year before I just make a statement? And it's like, no, Jeffrey Simmons is clearly one of the two. He's pretty clearly the one. His pass rush win rate is miles beyond any interior rusher. His pressures, anything that you would want to look at, miles beyond. So just an awesome season. And yet, this team is one of the worst pass rush teams outside of him in the NFL. Brock Purdy did not get sniffed a week ago. And so, I don't know. Gardner Minshew is a good player as a backup. Remember that Colts season? I wouldn't, I'm still picking the
All I remember is
I remember how it ended.
I was going to say, all I remember is the true disappointment emanating from Shane Steichen after Gardner Minshew missed that fourth down throw. That's what I remember.
I also...
Jeffrey Simmons has 51 pressures. Just wrap your brain around that.
That's
51
wild.
pressers.
I also
more than
do want to
a lot of
address,
edge rushers have.
since this is the Kevin Harlan game,
Ooh.
I've received a lot of criticism from members inside the building, really just one member, of how I read the Hanukkah prayer in the voice of Kevin Harlan, which I thought it was more of the spirit.
Yeah.
That's what the Hanukkah season, holiday season, is all about. But to quote the Slack I received during it, "You sucked at the blessing." I mean, that seems harsh, and I got that in person too. And
That's very direct.
yeah, it is. It was very direct. But I stand behind it, and I know some of our Jewish listeners and other listeners said they enjoyed it at least. So I'm not going to do it again.
It was spirited, and
shamed.
I loved it.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about some of the biggest games of this week. We got Steelers, Lions. We got a big-time Jags spot. We got Patriots and Ravens on Sunday Night Football. That'll be in our late and primetime game preview coming up in the feed.
And the Raiders are there, too.
Welcome to NFL Daily, where it's time for a revenge game. Yes, the revenge of the ambush at Mile High.
Oh.
I'm Gregg Rosenthal here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with Jourdan Rodrigue and Patrick Claybon. Wow.
Patrick Quaaludes.
I'm
What?
just so excited. So excited. It was a game when you guys were just wee lasses, and lad, in your case, Patrick, when Mark Brunell and Natrone Means and the Jaguars went into Denver and stunned the John Elway, Terrell Davis, Denver Broncos 30-27 in the divisional round. One of the big upsets, big moments, I would say, of mid-90s football. And now it's back. Jaguars at Broncos is suddenly like a monster game.
Yeah, and no longer this small franchise in this expanded NFL where you're like, oh wow, this expansion team, this scrappy Jacks. No, they're a big part of this operation and have been for a long time.
That was their first season. That is outrageous that they did that in their very first season as an expansion team.
And folks thought, with a big game coming up against the Denver Broncos, maybe this is a trap against the Jets. No, Trevor Lawrence had a game that no quarterback has had in the NFL history. And now, after both quarterbacks light it up, it's Bo Nix and Trevor Lawrence in the game of the year in the AFC, perhaps. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Denver Broncos, who are favored by 3. It is Kevin Kugler and Moose Johnston on the call where, Greg, I don't even know where to start. These teams are red hot right now.
Well, if I was going to get on Fox for giving, the battle for the NFC South, Myers and Schlereth, I'll give them a little like side eye for giving this game Kugler and Johnston. I mean, you're saying it could be one of the games of the year. That's their number 3 team,
Well,
I believe. But this is what happens.
We got Joe and Greg on Saturday.
Yeah, we got different double headers and different things happen. It's not going to change my enjoyment of this game, especially after I've watched the film. And I wanted to circle back to something we talked about in the newsroom on Sunday. I've now double confirmed. First, I checked the PFF scores, and now I've watched with my own eyes. Bo Nix, he played well last week, very well.
I'm glad several days later you finally believed what Jourdan was telling you.
I mean, you need to see it with your own eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you were telling me he was playing well in the weeks leading up, and it was like that, that Commanders game. And
no, I said he was playing
what was the other one?
Also, in my community, we believe women. I guess that doesn't apply to my right.
Yeah, Greg had to check the focus.
I had to watch it. He was sensational.
Yeah.
You get that Bo Nix and Sean Payton combo every week, you're winning the Super Bowl.
I do have a request to make, Greg. Feeling a little that you owe me. Can I have this game?
Oh, well, you've already gotten your number one game.
You gave me that game.
We'll have to see.
You gave me that
We'll have to
game.
see. Patrick's involved. Shook's involved. I mean, you can't just hog it all for yourself. We'll see. I haven't thought about it.
This is a total like unstoppable force meets immovable object game for both teams, because the Jaguars are one of the most explosive offenses in the league right now, and Trevor Lawrence seems like a completely different version of Trevor Lawrence, going against one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL right now, and certainly a veteran one, a savvy one, one that will pressure him, one that will try to turn him into pumpkin Trevor Lawrence once again. And also, on the other side, a Broncos offense that, while not the most explosive in the league, has a quarterback playing like way up to his potential, has put together the most complete game on offense of their season, is very, very dangerous, especially against zone coverage, and going up against a Jaguars defense that has been very respectable all season, as well as taking the ball away in aggressive fashion through most of the year, especially with Devin Lloyd back in the mix.
It's got everything. It's got the play caller matchup because Liam Cohen is super dialed in. Of course, Sean Payton in that performance against the Green Bay Packers was clearly like he saw the way Bo was going. All right, playbook out the window. All right, 10. Go out there and
training
get
wheels
buckets.
off.
And he did.
Yeah.
But, you saw, and I think we can't necessarily extrapolate a whole lot from the Jets game, where that was Liam and Trevor Lawrence doing stuff. Occasionally, you had 3 passes to the running backs out of the backfield that go for 6, where it's like, all right, the Jets are woeful right now, and Trev's dialed in. But how do you deploy Surtain and Moss and Talno Hufanga, who I think is a big part of if the Broncos can win this game? He's going to have to play well, because when this Jags group is fully operational, everybody's back other than Bashul Tutin. So it's going to be a lot of ETN in this one because Tutin just had finger surgery. But in how you deploy your talent when Parker Washington, BTJ, Jacoby Myers, like everybody's there, there's just so many options for Liam and company.
Yeah, I think that's so key in this game because obviously the Denver's strengths are really strong up front, and how they are on third downs and how they are in the red zone. But they are a team you can move the ball on. I mean, the Packers started that game with 6 straight scoring drives, and they're a team I sometimes struggle with because they don't look like the best defense you've ever seen, except when they're playing like terrible teams, they beat them down harder than any other team we've ever seen. But against good teams, they'll give you some and they'll take it back. You can focus on our guy Riley Moss. That's a guy that will get thrown at a little bit. Dre Greenlaw in coverage, I think, is a guy who you want to throw at, certainly, when you can get one of their linebackers kind of covering. Alex Singleton's good, but also he's another guy. Riley Moss, though, had an answer. I don't know if you saw this on Instagram this week, saying he's lactose intolerant when you're trying to throw it in his area. You don't like that one?
No, I here's the thing. I think maybe the lactose intolerant could be related to the cheese and related to the yellow flags that have been thrown at Riley Moss, because there were a couple last week where I'm with Riley. He is being unfairly targeted.
You were ready to make the Kickstarter.
Yeah, because we've seen guys get dragged down with one hand all season long. Riley Moss lays a finger on somebody. That flag is coming out, and it's like he's got his arms out. And I understand, like, justice for Riley Moss. Like,
I think that's what I think he was getting at. The other thing that the officials here they're seeing color. They're not colorblind.
No, I mean,
when it comes to Riley Moss.
And Riley Moss has every right to feel that way.
And I love, though, that the Jaguars offense, now that it has so many different elements and now that they are as healthy, and that Trevor Lawrence game, it came against the Jets, but it came because he's willing and is so confident coming off of multiple awesome performances. These two guys, I think Lawrence is coming off the best streak of his career. Nix is coming off the best game of his career. And yet, if you look at the numbers, and I kind of agree with the numbers, both these teams' defenses are better than their offenses. Like, Jaguars are a top 10 DVOA team right now. They've been on a roll. And the Broncos, as good as they were offensively last week, it's been the defense that's carrying them. So it's a really good test for these two young quarterbacks.
Yeah, I love it. And Bo Nix is pretty solid against the blitz. I think they've got some really good outlets for him that Sean Payton just historically has always built into his offense. The way that the Jaguars like to mitigate pressure and confuse defensive backs, which you'll see a ton of in this game, is they use motion on like over 70% of their pass plays. They also vacillate between their 11 personnel and 12 personnel, so 2 tight ends. And 2 tight ends is their preferred, like, heavier package that they're in. And they've got some, obviously, with Brenton Strange being the lead canine there. Like, they've got a lot of available formation changes and mixed looks that they can throw at a defense that is going to play them really, really aggressively. And like I said, try to mess up Trevor Lawrence.
Lead canine you went with.
Well, I don't want to say alpha dog. I feel like that's a cliche, right?
Lead canine.
Like, lead canine.
Okay.
And also,
that's a Les Sneadism, by the way.
Interesting.
Yeah, it sounds better, I guess, when it's coming from a general manager of an NFL team and not from
everything sounds better.
Not from the person that Greg can't even trust to watch tape.
The biologist who actually coined the term alpha did come out and note that within the wolf hierarchy, that was all wrong. He should not have done that. So people running around calling.
Yeah, they're more collaborators.
Yeah,
yeah.
they have a functional society.
Yes,
that's not organized from the top down. It was
wow, could have really changed a lot.
Well, I think the people who utilized that nomenclature would have just went with some other pseudoscience to benefit their worldview.
This is amazing. All of that information. This is a big moment for Anthony Campanile. Going up against Sean Payton. Hasn't got a lot of pop, but has been pretty creative in what he's done, and it's a real test for that defense. He's healthier. I really do think the Jaguars just having more guys available is quietly a huge part of why they're playing so well. I mean, if you think about it, at different points of the year, they were without Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington. They obviously didn't have Jacoby Myers, Brenton Strange. That's a lot of more players and a couple of their interior starting offensive linemen. So they're all out there right now. Trayvon Walker is out there and looking 100% again, finally, and Devin Lloyd. And this is a conference game. And so it's big for both teams, but especially for the Jaguars, who are one up on the Texans. And I did do some simulations and whatnot, because the Jaguars and Texans don't play each other. But in a scenario where the Jaguars lose this game and the Texans win out and they tie, the Texans, do win that tiebreaker, that they would win the division, even though they both would be 5-1 inside the division. It's this conference game that would be the difference, them losing this game to the Broncos.
And that's like 4 tiebreakers down? Like
right.
How many from...
Well, you go head-to-head, so they split. You go division, and then you go conference games. Then it's common opponents after that. That's where it's beyond my pay grade, and you got to just check the websites that you can trust.
That's good info, but in order to believe you, I think I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
I have to go to the PFF.
I think it's fair that you always want to have your eyes on a game before you just are rolling with that assessment.
A game that some of us were guilty of having our eyes on, despite not being assigned it. Myself highlighting in that was Phillip Rivers playing against the Seattle Seahawks, and we get Phillip Rivers in a game where we won't have to ignore any other game because it's on Monday Night Football in primetime, where the San Francisco 49ers are 6-point favorites at the Indianapolis Colts. The over-under is 46.5. Jourdan, they're playing at home. Phillip Rivers has one game under his belt. What's it going to show us here on Monday Night Football?
Well, I thought he played fine. Like, it's not ideal. It's not an ideal situation, obviously, but I thought he executed the offense fine, and that defense played its heart out and really gave him a shot. what helps him is that San Francisco cannot pressure. It can't get pressure. So I think there's an okay chance that we see Phillip Rivers like last this entire game again. The layers of this.
Such a low bar.
I mean, I think everyone's kind of worried about the 44-year-old out there on an NFL football field.
Don't you think there's a scenario where he does look better each week that he plays?
I think so.
From having played
this
already
is what
and having another
it's
week
a totally
of practice.
different position, obviously, but I saw this with Eric Weddle. When Eric Weddle came back in, again, off the couch at an advanced age relative to an NFL player. And it took like a couple of weeks, and then he was the green dot calling the game for the Rams in the Super Bowl. So I'm not saying it's the same trajectory, but it is like, and obviously a different position, but you do need to wake those muscles back up and wake the synapses back up, frankly, to make those decisions as quickly as we know he can. I like there's little like connective tissue layers to this. Gus Bradley is in San Francisco right now, and he's like buddies with Phillip Rivers, and they were on the phone, and he was asking. This is reported out of San Francisco's great beat over there. They were on the phone, and Phillip Rivers was like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing it. Gus Bradley was like, yeah, you should do it. Kyle Shanahan is in the room, intervenes. He's like, yeah, you should do it, and then realizes they've got Phillip Rivers a week after. He said, no, actually, you shouldn't do it. So I love that. I thought that was pretty great.
I love that too. And I love for Phil the idea that he could be protected well this week. It's a pretty big difference playing in Seattle and then playing at home against this 49ers team whose best two pass rushers are definitely Cleveland Farrell and Keon White the last couple of weeks, which is crazy. Bryce Huff should be in theory, but just the last couple of weeks he hasn't been productive. The problem is there's a million injuries, and the Colts have been dealing with this all season, really, down the stretch. But on the offensive line specifically, Braden Smith, their right tackle, is not coming back. He is now out for the season. And so that's a disappointment. And then Bernard Raymond, who got hurt in that game in Seattle, their left tackle, who was hurt during the game. We don't know his status. It's a Monday night game, so it's early in terms of practice reports. We have to assume Sauce Gardner is not coming back until he does. The same is true for Charvarius Ward. I do have a feeling DeForest Buckner could make his return this week. He did get some practices in before last week's game. They didn't activate him, so he might come back. But that's a lot of your very best players shorthanded that the Colts won't have, and especially if they're without if they're down both their tackles, that does worry me for Big Phil.
Yeah, and I don't know how much this defense can continue to hold up in terms of Indianapolis, because they started out great, and Lou Anarumo has I think gotten the most out of a genuinely talented group of players, and they're getting better pressure than they have. But I don't know how much can actually affect the way that this 49ers offense is playing right now.
Well, it's like maybe the best coaching matchup of the week, because I think Lou Anarumo can come up with a designer game plan. It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And sometimes they look bad, but sometimes they hit. And they were playing with their hair on fire last week. And Kyle versus this Indy defense, you never know. They are 11th right now in DVOA, their defensive efficiency overall. Like, that's pretty good considering everything that's going on. And so it's a big-time test against a 49ers offense that is rolling and might be without Ricky Pearsall. Unfortunately, even though he came back and finished that game out, the way Kyle Shanahan was talking, it sounds like he's hurt again. So that would be a big loss for them. But there's still a lot to deal with.
And we have seen some success from Coach Lou against the tree, but it's the trunk of the tree at this one. And,
I do want to say, before we go to the next game, when I'm looking at the advanced passing stats on Next Gen, I'm like, tell me you're old without telling me you're old with Phillip Rivers, because he's got the lowest time to throw of qualifying quarterbacks at 2.36 seconds, and also by far the lowest play action rate. So it's like, get the ball out quick, and please, for the love of God, do not turn your back on the defense.
Oh, yeah. It was just Phil. I mean, a lot of it was under center. Some of it was shotgun.
Yeah,
but it was him knowing what he was going to do before the play and usually making the right decision, which is why they didn't have like a ton of 3-and-outs or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. You could see it all game, but it's just funny looking at those stats and being like, oh, yeah, I can point out the old guy.
and highlighted in some of the worst tape of the game where Josh Downs wins at the line of scrimmage, calls for the ball, not knowing that the ball has already been thrown.
Oh, yeah. Be ready.
The ball's coming out, Josh. Gotta get ready for it. Let's go to Sunday Night Football, Gregg Rosenthal.
Mm-hmm.
The New England Patriots are on the road at the Baltimore Ravens, who are favored by 3 because Vegas likes action. Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth are on the call. Of course, there's going to be a Sims. There's going to be a Florio. There's a whole pregame experience that we, of course, are podcasting during that time. So we generally miss that. So you guys are going to have to let us know how that goes. But it's Drake May. It's a healthier Lamar Jackson. How do you feel about this football game? Even though we've already talked
Who
about
does
it.
have
Tell
the
people.
flu. Lamar Jackson, who does have the flu.
Constantly
according
sick.
to John Harbaugh. It's a
Constantly
Wednesday.
sick.
So
I need Lamar to,
Some people, you have them in your life, maybe even in your family. I do, at least. Like, there are just some people that are more sick than others. Lamar's one of those people.
Yeah.
Apparently.
He's
Although,
always at the gas station. Maybe it's like,
yeah, he is.
like hand sanitize after the pump. Like,
okay, so
stop getting sick.
a little sick, but he not only is feeling better, he is telling everyone he's feeling better.
Yeah, I believe I told you guys early on in the week I was feeling better, like Thursday. But I guess you guys had to see it to believe it.
I love that.
I'm
That
glad
was-
we dispensed with the fiction that he was
But like
fine.
right before he's gone on a Wednesday with the flu, like
Yeah.
bless his heart.
That was
Oh my
from
God.
Post game, and he did have some really good runs. I thought he did 2
Yeah.
weeks ago too,
Yeah.
but maybe they were even better last week. Like, it's hard to judge explosiveness. He's still more explosive as a runner, hurt than almost any runner out there. And he had a number of really nice throws last week, even though he only had 12 attempts. Like 3 or 4 of them were absolute dimes. And I think they're favored in this game because the numbers will tell you this is a bad Patriots defense.
Mhm.
It just is. It's the worst, one of the worst red zone defenses of the last 10 years, 4th worst of the last 10 years in terms of if you get the ball, near the goal line, they are going to cave. It's been one of the worst rush defenses in the league for the last 6 weeks or so. And the Ravens running game has been better. So I kind of like the offenses in this game, Patrick. I know Baltimore's defense has been playing better, but it feels like it's the battle of the explosive play teams. Like, who can get more explosive plays? I think it could be a lot of fun because I think it could be a game with a lot of possessions where there are some 3 and outs, but there's also some 2-play 70-yard drives from both these teams. And I think the Ravens will be up for like a shootout.
Yeah, this Patriots team, I've said it for weeks, is reminiscent of some of these Ravens teams where they got home run hitters. The comeback is in play for the opponent because when they're constantly hitting home runs, like Kayshon Boutte catching touchdowns on upwards of 20% of his reception. You get Travion, the franchise history record holder in 50-yard touchdowns, just 9 games into his career where he's actually playing and starting in these games where it's going to be back and forth. I think they're going to go up and down the field. I have wondered, because statistically you keep seeing the Ravens pop up near the top of these categories in rushing defense, in pass EPA, where it's like, how are they doing this? It's like you're having to materialize a pass rush in some games where I don't know if you're going to be able to apply the pass rush that we saw against Burrow and the Bengals every single week. But the Patriots banged up front. Perhaps you get the Kyle Van Noy revenge game, and there's some cause for optimism. But I see nothing but score fest, Jourdan. That's all I can see.
Yeah, I think it has potential for that. I am curious, though, because you would think when you look at this, it's who gets the ball last. That's who wins, essentially. So with that in mind, I'm curious if the Patriots adjust and learn from a little bit of what happened last week, and they deploy a little bit more ball control in a expert fashion or in a situational fashion, less so a product of the defense that they're playing. And I feel like that's the way playing keep away has to be the way that you win this game. It only works if you can run the ball. Luckily for them, even though they haven't run the ball well, luckily for them, the Patriots' run defense is certainly not up to par.
Right. But they're a hard team to figure out
Yeah.
because they change depending on the week. Like their rushing attack the last few weeks, and granted one was, before the bye, has been better. I think Ramondre has looked pretty good. Travion Henderson's success rate has gone up. I just think they're a team that really misses Milton Williams, and like every team has a million injuries, but the Patriots are a thinner team where the drop off is significant, and they only play their front 4 like the Eagles do. Those front 4 aren't as good, and so I think you're seeing some wear and tear from Harold Landry and Caleb Jason specifically. Those guys were at the center of a lot of the best Bills plays last week, where they're not keeping their rush lanes and they're not really creating much of a pass rush without Milton Williams. And so there's opportunities for the other team. And yet I still have a lot of faith in Drake May to bounce back, even if the Ravens defense has been playing better. The Ravens defense got a couple key players back last week, Patrick. Ardarius Washington, safety, who played quite well for them last year. And then Tavarius Robinson, their names are just close enough to mess me up, but he had a big play early in that game too. So they are getting some guys who have been in the system before and played a lot of snaps for them and getting healthy there down the stretch run. And you could say this is a revenge game, not just for Kyle Van Noy, but how about for John Harbaugh against Mike Vrabel? Had some big wins over them in the past, including that playoff game, whenever that was. I don't remember. 2019, 2020?
Yeah, I think it was Lamar's first playoff game where things with the other way. First.
They also had some beef at the time where, like, the next year the Titans beat up on them and they played a couple times. There was some stuff between them back in the day. Just two, I'm going to say it, alpha males.
Lead
Mike
canines.
Vrabel and John Harbaugh. Two lead canines. Should we take a break? Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Excited that these games are so good that Pittsburgh, Detroit didn't even make it in the first block of the show. Back on NFL Daily. Don't read text between, our little breaks here. Because sometimes you'll read a text and it'll really surprise you. It might be from your personal life, your business life. And then suddenly you hear the music and the show has started again.
Oh, no.
And you're not calm, cool, and collected. You're like Quinn Ewers back there in the pocket on Sunday. You're like, what is going on? That's where I'm at right now.
Okay, Greg?
Everything's great.
Okay.
Everything's always great. Steelers, Lions. It's Jim Nantz and Tony Romo.
Yes, and
baby.
the Lions are favored by 7.
Wow. I haven't looked at these lines yet.
Dan Campbell is calling the plays, and they've been explosive on offense. They've looked great. The Pittsburgh Steelers, a couple of weeks after fire Tomlin chance in the catbird seat in the AFC North. And, yeah, we get a chance to see this over-under at 49.5. Where Jourdan, do Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers keep this hot streak going?
Man, it would be hard to see Detroit kind of fall apart, I think, because they are so well coached.
Because we love them?
We love them.
Because they're America's team?
They're America's
Because
team.
we want them to do well?
I don't want them to be in pain. And they're just hurting right now, guys. They're having trouble consistently getting pressure outside of Aiden Hutchinson. They're decimated in their secondary, throughout their secondary, and they are having trouble containing explosive plays. The Steelers are running the ball pretty well these days. They're not faring well as well as they want to against the run. This, on paper, if you're taking the last week or so, or couple of weeks of Steelers and the last couple of weeks of Lions, on paper, it does favor the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And yet they're a touchdown underdog.
And two Cal guys at quarterback.
That's a huge number to me. It speaks to a couple of things that I do find interesting, when you're talking about, the numbers and Vegas and all that, which is that, do you value what you've seen lately, or do you value the whole course of the season? And it's like it's a push and pull when evaluating these teams. Coaches look at the last 4 weeks. I tend to think that is what's more important. And I think the Steelers offense has shown signs of, I don't know if they've been transformed, but playing their best football now. And this is a really positive matchup against a Lions defense that I believe is 29th in the last month or so in terms of EPA per play allowed. Like, they're just not a good defense lately. And so I kind of like this one being a score fest as well indoors.
Mm-hmm.
We got
indoors, good call.
We got breaking news from NFL insider J.J. Watt, who has some insight into the health status of little brother. Says he's, quote, working through it. I don't know if that necessarily inspires
that is newsy.
A lot of confidence regarding T.J. Watt's status, which I think is huge here, because this most recent edition of the Tua Tagovailoa Miami Dolphins didn't really allow me a chance to evaluate how the Pittsburgh Steelers pass defense was.
Okay, fair.
I understand the last 4 weeks are part of that evaluation. That version of the Dolphins, not necessarily inspiring the threat that JG and JMO and Amon-Ra and Jameer Gibbs do, where 7 makes sense to me. 7 makes perfect sense.
So, yeah, week 12 was the cutoff where they're 29th in EPA per play, the Lions. And they're first in points, by the way, this season, just like flat out points.
30 points per game. Someone tell Baker Mayfield.
Right.
It is possible.
Listen to the other show first.
I guess Jared Goff's not letting his team down.
No.
He really isn't.
He's pointing the fingers at the guy that's celebrating the touchdown he just threw. That's who Jared Goff's pointing the fingers at.
Jared Goff has responded to being dismissed from QB Island by playing his best month of football of the season over the last month. Even when they've lost some of these games, I think he is playing outstanding. And so that's a good point, Patrick, about the Steelers defense. It's more the Steelers offense, which I kind of felt like was dead on arrival almost all season long because of their passing game. And I still think the ceiling's relatively low, but I've raised it. Like, if they can just be a competitive to decent passing game, then they're a little more dangerous in a spot like this against a team that will put up some points. That's all.
Has to be a big Amik Robertson game. Just the way that this defense consistently, regardless of which pieces are missing, have schemed up to bother opposing quarterbacks and be in the passing lanes, where if you can make Aaron Rodgers hesitate, not trust what he sees, the ball's, first of all, it's going out of bounds, but if he can't get there, if he's still in the pocket, then there's an opportunity to have those negative plays. And maybe Aiden Hutchinson, despite not being able to crest 19 miles per hour when he's running down the field by himself, is able to get some quick pressure on Aaron Rodgers.
I just think this is a high potential game for the Lions to just be a explosively smothering group, because it almost happened to the Rams. The Rams fought their way back in it, but hitting those explosive plays early almost put that one out of reach in a big way, and they can do it again against the Steelers. The third and fourth most explosive plays allowed this season. Third most is the Detroit Lions defense, and fourth most is the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And they're so close together, just 3 explosive plays apart, 133 for Detroit and 130 for the Steelers per next-gen stats, that to me shows me that the more explosive offense will win this game, and that's the Lions.
It should be. DK's finally gotten some big plays the last couple of weeks. It's good to see him a bigger part of the offense. I don't think of their running game as explosive, although it's quietly effective, the Steelers with Jaylen Warren, who's more likely to make a man miss a tackle than he is to like bust it for 40.
Is it my fault
Yeah.
that Kenneth Gainwell is subtracted from your Steelers running back analysis?
Maybe subconsciously that is true. He shouldn't be, because
Kenny G's having a great season. Greg.
Yeah.
he really is, and the Steelers are telling
Well, he has to
you.
do PFF first,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, I guess we do need to.
No, running backs, that's easier. No. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. Kenneth Gainwell, look, he was the primary ball carrier on a team that put up over 30 points in a Super Bowl. He's also the primary carrier, like right now on the Steelers. Quietly, he's playing a little more than Jaylen Warren, although it's a great 1-2 punch. It's been a quiet 3 weeks for Jameer Gibbs, right since he had that nuclear game where he went over 200 yards, right? Or maybe it's just been 2 weeks, but he's had a couple quiet weeks, and you do miss Sam Laporta. I do think like the culture of it all, like they can't lose this game, Dan Campbell. They could technically be eliminated. Remember I said at the years ago, before I received life-changing news via text. No, I'm joking.
Is everything okay?
I pointed out only one team could be eliminated this week, and that was the Dallas Cowboys. There is a very unlikely scenario in which the Lions lose.
But there is another.
And the Bears and the Packers tie, where the Lions would be eliminated. So even though it wouldn't be official that they would be eliminated if they lose this game, likely, they would be all but eliminated and would need an incredible amount of help in the final 2 weeks if Detroit doesn't win. Come on, coming through. Dan Campbell, Mike Tomlin. I mean, how much more?
Do it for America. We need it so bad.
How much cooler can it get in terms of like a head coaching matchup? I feel like Mike Tomlin walked so Dan Campbell can run, you know?
Oh, that's cool. I like that a lot.
Well, I guess Mike Tomlin ran
that
too.
a
He
lot.
won a lot of games and won a Super Bowl. But you know what I mean. They're like, I feel like two guys in the same mold.
Well, you like cool head coaches, Greg?
Yes.
Can I interest you in a Pete Carroll and the Las Vegas
No.
Raiders? Oh, okay. Well, the Raiders are playing the Houston Texans, who are favored. I wasn't ready to read this. 14.5 points. The over-under is 37.5. Andrew Catalon, Charles Davis, and Jason McCourty will have the task of making it interesting, Greg, because the Raiders are playing against a team that's significantly better than them.
And they always do. One of my favorite trios. I'm talking about Catalan, Davis, and McCourty.
Oh, okay.
I've had enough broadcaster hate lately. I want to give the good crews some credit. And that the Texans offense, that's a good crew. I wondered aloud on that Cynthia pod last week where we do our picks. Like, do we really trust the Texans favored by like 10 points last week? Like, ready to just like blow a team out? Right? Didn't end up taking that game. It's like, yeah, we kind of do trust them. They've gotten through this gauntlet, and they could be 10-2 in their last 12 games if they win this game. And they've done it against a top 5 difficult schedule. And now they finally get to a softer portion. And you watched that game closely last week, Jourdan. The offense looked great, and it just is awesome to see C.J. Stroud in rhythm. And one thing that stuck out to me watching is just he's moving really well.
Yes.
And he talked in the offseason about really working on his movement skills. And I do think you saw that like right at the beginning of the season, but then he got hurt, and the offensive line has been bad. But he has been great, I think, lately, and he's moving really well.
Well, there's a more of a rapport with some of the younger players too. The younger receivers, the 2 guys out of Iowa State, and then Xavier Hutchinson coming in as well, and then obviously Nico is Nico, but it's all of the young players seem to have grown up through part of the grueling nature of what this season has been. I was delighted to see. Now Woody Marks is kind of in and out with an ankle injury, so he's kind of, if he plays, he'll be playing through a little of that. But I was absolutely delighted to see that they promoted Jourdan off the practice squad again, and he should stay on this active roster for as long as they can keep him there, because the burst that he gave them on the ground, Woody Marks clearly can be a very explosive player, but it was almost like a spark plug, just little like flashes with Jourdan, who showed this burst that was awesome, that was badly needed. It was exciting to watch this Houston Texans offense move the ball and stay ahead of the sticks in such a functional way. You combine that with C.J. Stroud's ability as a quarterback, making some of the highest difficulty level throws. It's all coming together, and it's coming together at the right time. And thank God, because they're giving this defense some help, finally.
And a opportunity where you can both rest Woody Marks for this upcoming postseason run, and get Jourdan a chance to get more carries. I mean, as far as NFL debuts,
Win-win.
Yeah, 15 carries over 100, involved in the receiving game as well. I'd like to see more of them as well, and because again, you try stuff against this team. Right?
I like how we're politely calling these miserable teams the try stuff against teams.
Yeah, but the Raiders are the king of
like
them.
the quintessential.
Yeah, you can work on your offensive line, Texans. Like, you're not gonna have to worry about any crazy blitzes. These are 2 teams that both like to play base defense. Having 3 linebackers on the field, it can work. I mean, the 49ers do it pretty well
for one of these teams.
And the Texans, I noticed with Christian Harris back last week, or maybe it's the last 2 weeks, I'm not sure, but he's playing a decent amount of snaps, and he adds a little bit of a different element, and I think they're going to want him like getting ready for the playoffs to at least be like an important player for them. And yeah, that's what the types of stuff you can do against the Raiders.
Yeah. And thank you for putting me on the Jalen Petrie smelling salt situation, because I saw the video. Not only did he take a hit of the smelling salts, he no-sold it. Like, no reaction, no facial indication.
Frozen expression, and just casually drops it to to the and goes and sprints to the
That's
flat.
just Wednesday for him.
Yeah.
That's just nothing.
If I'm lined up across from that, I'm sideline. Hey, I'm tapping my head.
I love this defense so much.
And yeah, if we don't know if Gino's going to be back for this game, we should have pointed out, by the way, for the Jets, it is Brady Cook again. We didn't get that information. But we don't know if it's Gino or Kenny Pickett yet.
Either way,
yes.
RIP. Yes, again. You were asking earlier on a show this week what players we think that Wes would have liked.
Mhm.
I look at Will Anderson Jr. and I think the exuberance and the joy that young man plays with, and the ferocity, despite being like seems like just a joy for his teammates to be around. He's incredible. Watching him play is incredible. I think Wes would have really liked.
I totally agree. Loved like an edge with his hair on fire, and really realizing when they talked about Will Anderson before the draft, and when it came to that trade, there was this idea that the ceiling wasn't somehow quite as high as like top edge type of guys, that it was more like safe versus like crazy ceiling. I mean, this is the ceiling right now. He's a first team All Pro, I think, with Myles Garrett. I think those are the two. Speaking of which, you mentioned Nico as Nico, and I often think this when I'm watching Nico Collins, who I think is my favorite wide receiver in the league. Like we say, oh, he's one of the best receivers in the league. It's like, but he's still better than you think. I'm thinking about if I'm making an All Pro team this year, I actually gotta make a list. Like, how high are we talking? If we're putting 3 receivers on, which I think they do now, it's probably JSN and Puka are the easy top 2. And then after that, you could go Chase, certainly, having a good year. It's kind of tough to put Justin Jefferson on the team this year because he's not going to break 1,000 yards, I don't think. I think I would maybe put Nico right there on the first team. And if not, he's there on the second team with Amon-Ra and CD or whoever else, George Pickens, you want to put on the second team. But like, I think that's the floor for Nico, and I don't think it's crazy to have him right there, number 3.
And that's why it was so important for your call for the Texans offensive line to be normal, to be standard issue.
Yes.
So more people could appreciate how good of a football player
Yes.
Nico Collins is. And thankfully, more people are. Let's go to our final game, guys.
Oh, wow.
The Atlanta Falcons are favored by 2.5 points, fresh off of the Kyle Pitts game on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. The over-under is 47.5. Jason Benetti and Brady Quinn on the call. The Cardinals have looked like Cancun on 3 the past couple of weeks. Jourdan, do they provide the early season Cardinals scare where they lose this game by 3 points?
I think the Cardinals can win this game.
Oh,
I think the vibes are down horrendous in Atlanta right now. The kiss of death for the quarterbacks in any building, the theme this year seems to be everything is on the table if the head coach says that. And that is what Raheem Morris told the media this week when asked about the future of the quarterback situation. It bears repeating that Atlanta does not have their initial first-round pick with which they could potentially go make a decision at quarterback. It also bears noting that they might not even be the ones in the building making that decision, nor the Arizona Cardinals. So this is a whose vibes are slightly less bad than others game.
That is absolutely all true. And yet when I think about this game versus, let's say, Bengals-Dolphins, this is the
this has fun
This is the
potential.
sort of chaos
Yeah,
that I'll
this has
embrace on the field. Off the field, you're right. The vibes are bad.
But I liked both of these teams schematically on defense, at least on the field. And I know the defense for the Cardinals hasn't been good, but I still hold space for the possibility of what could be.
I mean, Kyle Pitts is coming off one of the most legendary fantasy football performances of all time, if not TNF performances of all time. That's fun. Drake London sounds like he could be back for this game. We got to give Kirk Cousins credit for playing very well in that game.
Yes.
And I think it's been a steady incline where he's looked better each and every week. I think it's a little crazy to talk about.
Do you think he's playing himself into another job?
No, but there are only 32 jobs.
yes.
So I kind of
one very notable one in Kansas City where maybe they
Right.
need somebody to play 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too here. Like
You-
it wouldn't surprise me if he is a starting quarterback in week 1 next year, but I don't think he's going to get like a starting quarterback like contract. So that's where I would separate him. Like maybe he's paired with a rookie or he's paired with
Yeah, seems
Michael
like
Penix
he'll really
type.
want to be a bridge guy again. Totally.
Well, that's what.
Yeah.
Well, what is he gonna do? Like he just accept it. I think Raheem is just too honest. Like, of course they're considering everything. Michael Penix is coming off of a torn ACL.
Yeah.
He might not be ready for the start of next season, and if he is, he's coming off a torn ACL.
Bears know,
So they
that he was not playing well before the injury,
Yes.
too.
Right.
So
For sure, but I mean, even if he was playing well, I feel like they would have to be, readying as an organization for that position, considering his injury history. And yeah, it would surprise me if Raheem is there, but you never know.
Jacoby Brissett might throw it 100 times this game. Another player goes to injured reserve. I think Bam Knight this time. Cardinals have just had the worst luck with their running backs room all year. They'll be down to like their 6th starting running back in this game, and as the season creaks to a close on the Arizona Cardinals.
I keep going back to that. Their defense is not that injured. In fact, up front, they're as healthy as they've been all season, and they are somewhere between 25th and 27th in basically every defensive stat. And he's a defensive coach, and he's been there for 3 years. And so you're starting to hear the national of like, well, like Tom Pelissero said this week, they want to keep him, but the results.
Nice to want things.
Right. Like basically they've been planning to keep him, but at a certain point,
these last 3 games matter.
yeah, if at a certain point, if the results continue to be really lopsided, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be great for Jonathan Gannon. And I do want to finish. You mentioned it's been a sign all season. It's been kind of a trend when they talk about their young quarterbacks that way. I'm not overly comfortable with the fact that Shane Steichen is more or less saying, going back to the Colts, that like, oh yeah, Anthony Richardson might be cleared for activities, but yeah, we didn't bring in Phillip Rivers for anything but to start. I'm not surprised by that, but it sounds like they're not even going to let like Anthony Richardson be a backup and just being weird about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
They've not handled that. Just be honest about it. Maybe like we don't see him as the future. Whatever it is, he's like refusing to answer questions. Anthony Richardson was, I think, cleared for football activities.
Yeah, he is. He's cleared for football activities, but he's not the backup.
Yeah. And they probably aren't going to. I didn't even think put him on the active roster. So that's another quarterback that'll be available for someone this offseason. We have a whole 3 weeks to get through before we get there. We also have a really exciting addition to the feed. Tell us about this week's NFL Power Players, which is coming up next in the feed.
Yeah, we talked to Chad Alexander, the assistant general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers this week, and we talked about the Chargers earlier. What was that? The other show, right?
They're all one show. I just consider this feed one long show.
We talked about the Chargers earlier today, and I love what you said because you have not heard the interview yet, Greg, but you talked about winning ugly and no style points, and that's exactly what Chad Alexander was talking about, as well as just like really rebuilding what it means to have an identity as a football team in that building of late. It was a pretty cool interview. I'm excited for people to listen to it.
Okay, so that is going to go up on Thursday. We will also be back Thursday night, Jourdan and I, recapping Rams Seahawks.
Big one.
The best Thursday night football game of all time, Greg.
That's right. No hyperbole here. I think so. I'd have to go through the records, but
the legendary 17-point Baker Mayfield.
we'll see you then.